Hello everyone, hope everybody's doing great today. Appreciate those of you who watched this video. I hope you enjoyed. Also appreciate those of you who have subscribed. Thank you very much. So today we're going to be talking about Diamonds Are Forever. This is Sean Connery's last movie until the 1980s. And you can kind of tell he's kind of tired of this role. It kind of feels like in this one, it's probably his worst performance. I thought You Only Live Twice might be pretty bad, but this one, he's kind of just there for the paycheck, I guess. You know, he wasn't in your Majesty's Secret Service because of money problems. You know, he wanted more money than what they were willing to pay him. And so maybe he's just doing this one for the money. However, I think he did kind of regret not being in Your Majesty's Secret Service because I read somewhere that he kind of liked that role, and that was kind of James Bond movie he would like to be in. So maybe that's what kind of brought him back for this one. Who knows? But you know, in Her Majesty's Secret Service, that ending of that movie really gave you a gut punch at the end. It was very emotional. You kind of really did feel for James Bond there at the end. Because normally, you know, he gets the girl at the end, and, you know, they're kind of kissing or something in each other's arms in some sort of way. And that one, you know, he does get the girl, they're married, and then his wife gets killed at the highest point. It's probably James Bond's life at that moment. So you kind of get a feeling, you know, feel for him. And then we get this movie, and you get a little bit of revenge going on for James Bond here. He's trying to get back at the people who killed his wife. So he's, you know, the first 4 or 5 minutes of this movie is him just like a montage of him just tracking down Bloomfield or whatever, however you pronounce his name. I'm terrible with names. And it's just all really rapid and fast. And when he does kill the villain, you know, in a big tub of mud, it just didn't really feel satisfying, you know. It was kind of like, you know, it's all too quick. And, you know, after the audience really got the gut punch, you know, for what happened at the end, for it to be like, you know, he's getting his revenge and smacking women around and, basically drowning the guy in mud. It just didn't feel satisfying. Like the revenge of James Bond getting for his wife's murder or death just didn't really feel satisfying in this movie. I kind of wish this movie, I know these are based upon Ian Fleming's books, and I really do want to read some of those novels, but I've never read one, so I don't know if this is more drawn out and how accurate it is to the book. But like the revenge of his wife really felt, like I said, unsatisfying. I kind of wish this movie was all about him getting back at Bloomfield instead of the first 5 minutes. You know, he kills him very quick and I don't know, kind of clumsy, I guess. You know, everybody talks about how these death traps that Spectra and Bond's enemies do for him, and how, you know, it's obvious he's going to escape. You know, they give him some kind of trap, then he leaves expecting the sharks to eat him, or a laser beam to cut him in half and stuff like that. You know, in this way, in this movie at the beginning is kind of like the reversal. Bond just drowns Bloomfield. He doesn't check that the dude's dead. You know, come on, you gotta make sure the guy's dead, just assuming. But, you know, it's kind of like the same, only a little bit reversed. And so the whole movie, you know, he's trying to figure out why these people are wanting these diamonds. So he's not really getting any revenge. It just happens at the end that Bloomfield is alive at the end. And, you know, he does kind of get, you know, he does kind of torture him a little bit in the end of this movie, where he gets the crane, and, you know, Bluefield's in that, what is it, like a submarine type, or is it a helicopter? I can't remember what vehicle it was. But, you know, he's trying to get away, and he's got this crane, he's ramming Bluefield, or whatever, the main villain guy, into, like, the ship, the oil rig, the big, I don't know what those things called, rigs, towers, you know, he's ramming into the walls and stuff. And, you know, Sean Connery, Bond's having a good time. He's laughing about it, you know, having fun, torturing the guy. But still, it's just that really satisfying. It's kind of comical at the end, kind of cheesy, but that's kind of how the movie ends. And, of course, Bloomfield escapes. And, like, later on in the movies, when, you know, Roger Moore takes over and he actually kills Bloomfield, it's just, you know, it's kind of like a cheap death type of thing. I just didn't really feel satisfying how the writers ended Bloomfield's life. But I'm getting kind of hitting myself talking about other movies and stuff like that. You know, I don't know about you guys, but the revenge thing felt rushed. Not enough time. This would have been better if the whole movie is about Bond tracking him down and really, you know, instead of like a 2 or 3 minute montage of him killing these sidekicks, these henchmen, you know, it was just drawn out, you know, so we really get the just desserts that we deserved, you know, through what we went through to the end of the last movie. So let's dig into this movie. Get my trusty notes here because it has been a little minute or two since I watched this. I feel like the opening song by, when we get to Shirley Bassey, probably the best opening song so far in the series. I'm not going to say all of them, just through the first, 7 movies of Bond. I think this song was the best. I really enjoyed it the most. It was great. I liked it a lot. Did have some pretty good fight scenes in this movie, though. Really liked them. Like the first one when he's in the elevator, when he's getting up to see St. John. St. John? Is it St. John and St. Jill? Anyways, Jill St. John? Anyways, her character, you know, like, it's a pretty cool fight scene in there as he's trying to steal that guy's identity to trick her. So I thought that was really well done. You know, that was really good fight scene. I enjoyed the chase scene in the desert. You know, this movie tells us the moon landing was fake. I mean, just watch James Bond, this movie. Obvious, shows us how they faked the moon landing. I guess they did that in there because of the controversy. Like nobody, I guess, ever since the beginning of this whole moon landing, people didn't really believe that they actually landed on the moon. So you get a little bit of them crashing through the moon set, you know, where they filmed this fake landing. Really enjoyed that scene, and I really enjoyed like the last shot of that scene where you had the policemen, their cars are destroyed, and then you have Bond driving away and like in the sunset. You know, I love that shot. That is perfect. You know, they're all upset, their car's destroyed, and you see James Bond getting away. Felt that was very well filmed. Great filmography right there. Really liked that part. That was great. Let's see. And then the other car chase scene we get a little bit later on in the movie. I really enjoyed that. Sorry, I gotta look at my notes every once in a while, you know, because this ain't scripted, as you can tell. So I really liked how you get to see, especially in today's world, you know, Vegas has changed a lot, and we got to see what Vegas looked like back then. And I really enjoyed that chase scene, and I have to say these chase scenes are getting a lot better. If you've listened to me rant about these past James Bond scenes, always like the chase scenes, but every time they do like the close-up, you can really tell it's fake. Like they're in like a studio and there's like a screen behind them. This one's really well done. You can't really tell too much on the close-ups that, you know, they're actually in a studio. It actually felt like they were actually in the car the whole time during these chase scenes. My shirt got caught on my notebook. I'm gonna have a big hole there. You might see this, no, might not see this shirt anymore. And then we kind of got the, always referred to Austin Powers, because Austin Powers is a clear parody of Bond, you know. I think this movie, Bluefield copies himself and the cat, even clones the kitty cat. The cat has the diamonds, which kind of leads to like this storyline, this plot of the diamonds. The reason he wants the diamonds is for the super weapon. It's outer space that can shoot laser beams and destroy things. Kind of reminds me, this is like a good old trope of the Bond movies. You know, I think this might be, is this the first time, I'm trying to think of the other super weapons that they're trying to create. I think this is the first time they actually had like a thing, like a satellite dish destroying things. The other one was GoldenEye and then Die Another Day. So, you know, Brosnan there, he had a few of those super weapons in outer space. So that's the reason why I want the diamonds. Diamonds are forever. I feel like also, going back to St. John here, her character is probably the most incompetent. She really doesn't help Bond much at all. But the most incompetent, now seeing through the future here, because I have seen a lot of the Roger Moore movies, because my wife's favorite Bond movie, second favorite Bond actor is Roger Moore. But like A View to the Kill, that Bond girl is useless. All she says is, Bond, help me, James. So, but St. Jill, at this point right now, she's probably the most useless of the Bond girls up to the first 6 movies. And then Lana Wood, she's not in there very long, but man, they really like her dubbing, dubbed her voice. or that voice dub was just off, just terrible. So good thing she's only in this movie for like 5 minutes, because this is not a very good performance by her. I would like to know though how they did the scene where she falls out of the building from the hotel into the swimming pool. That would be pretty cool. I would like to see how they did that one. Pretty cool stunt. I would say James Bond movies do have some good stunts in them. That was pretty cool. I guess, they were supposed to block off Vegas because she was wearing scantily clothing, and they didn't do a very good job. And I was kind of to her dismay, because that's something that she didn't want really to happen. She was worried about people seeing her that way. And hey, can you blame her? Another thing I did enjoy about this movie was the two assassins. I just found them comical, kind of dark humor. And they were just in the movie just enough, like they weren't overdone. So I really did enjoy them. Seeing them, always got a kick out of whatever they were doing, and their really dark humor. I was kind of wish that they would be in other movies, but it was pretty cool seeing them and how they got their ending here at the end of this movie. This one I thought they were going to survive. They don't survive. But yeah, I did get a kick out of the two assassins. I guess if you read some stuff in the trivia, the IMDb, pretty funny story about them playing a prank on Sean Connery. They actually convinced Sean Connery that they were actually gay. So this whole time they thought they were gay. And then I guess this happenstance, Connery and one of them were on a airplane, and the guy was flirting with girls, and then that's when Sean Connery called on that, hey, they were pranking me the whole time during shooting. And I guess another thing that probably hurt Connery's performance in this is that he was out gambling and stuff. He never really slept Monday through Friday, and so he crashed on Saturday, because after shooting, he would go and gamble in the casinos. And plus, he's two-time into two actresses too, so it doesn't have very much time for him to stay awake. But yeah, this is probably his worst performance in my opinion. But I guess the reason to watch this is after you watch In Her Majesty's Service, is so you can see Bond pathetically get the revenge for his wife. Like I said, I think they've poorly done that part. Overall, this is not my favorite Bond movie. Probably my least favorite. But hey, that's my story and sticking to it. Let me know, did you guys love Diamonds Are Forever? Do you think this, am I wrong? Is this the best one? Do you think this is the worst one? Up to this point, up to the 60s, right before we get to the Roger Moore Bond movies. Hopefully you enjoy this. Thanks for sticking around for close to 13 minutes. Kind of ran a little long, a little ranting at the beginning, ranting at the beginning, but hey, that's just me. Have a great day. Bye.